Hey everybody, I'm Hugh Brownstone with Three Blind Men and an Elephant, and today, in an era of social distancing, sheltering in place, and mandatory lockdowns, I want to talk to you about a project to relieve boredom, fire up your imagination, and rekindle your sense of how good life can be and will be again. I'm talking about making a photo book. But before I do, a few announcements. First, you have until midnight New York time tomorrow night, March 31st, to enter our photo competition and a chance to win either a 10.2-inch Apple iPad or our grand prize, a Fujifilm X100V, thanks to our sponsors and friends at Adorama. See our video on the home photos competition for details, to which I'll put a link in the show notes down below and up above here in the corner. It's worldwide, so all entries are welcome. That's kind of the point. And please, show Adorama some love by visiting them at www.adorama.com for all your photo, video, and electronics needs. Second, like so many of us, we've been hard hit economically by the coronavirus pandemic too. So please support our work if you can by joining us on Patreon at www.patreon.com/HughBrownstone. Or if you'd prefer, by making a one-time donation to us at PayPal. I'll put those links down in the show notes as well. In either case, we thank you for it. Third, speaking of photo books, I am thrilled to let you know that Streets of New York, the book, limited edition, is now available for pre-order at www.3bmep.com/books, so check it out. And therein lies a story. This story, actually. Part of it anyway. So let's begin. A couple of months ago, the good folks at Saal Digital reached out to me to ask if I'd like to try their Photobook service. Their timing was more propitious than either of us could have imagined. I'd already set and missed a self-imposed deadline to create our first photo book ever in 2019. I mean, you know the drill. Too much to do, too little time, higher priorities. But then a month or two ago, yeah, you know what happened. The coronavirus, COVID-19. As a result, many of us have a lot of time on our hands, and I finally had the time to explore what it would take to create a photo book with zero prior experience. But while I will share with you my experience with Saal's free design software and then the final product, which in a nutshell were outstanding, I really want this to be more of a primer on how to think about creating a photo book and what you can expect along the way so that you can do one. And to that end, the very first thing to say is this. As always, pre-production is where it's at. It is the most important thing because the first key to success is intent. What is your theme? What is your purpose? Who is your audience? In our case, it was always going to be a collection of photographs taken on the streets of New York, a paean to the home of my birth, location for all of our street photography workshops, so far hold that thought for another time, my favorite city on earth, now in the throes of the virus itself. I also intended that this, Saal Digital, would serve as a proof of concept for the book we would actually sell. Hold that thought. Once you are clear about your intent, the next step, before everything else, and a powerful skill for all photographers, is curating your images. That is, selecting the few worthy shots from among the many which comprise your oeuvre. Just 126 images, for example, make up Henri Cartier-Bresson's first book, The Canonical, The Decisive Moment, published in 1952. By that time, he'd been photographing for more than 20 years and was already a founding member of Magnum for the previous 5. Just 126 images. Robert Frank selected only 85 images from among the 28,000 frames he captured specifically for his seminal work, The Americans, published in 1958, I think it was. Martin Parr, who joined Magnum 30 years later in 1988, says, "Don't be afraid to take bad pictures. You have to take a lot of bad pictures in order to know when you've got a good one." Kind of like Malcolm Gladwell's 10,000 Hours to Mastery. I've taken hundreds of thousands of shots and I still don't get it right, which is why having a collaborator or editor to help you cull your images can be such an extraordinary gift. Hold that thought too. Once you've settled on the first round of images you want for your book, because with time you'll come to realize some of them really don't make the cut, while others you'll absolutely smack yourself in the head for not remembering sooner, put them all in a single folder, because then it's time to sequence them. At which point, great software makes things fly. And I have to say, this was the point at which I quickly realized Saal's free design software is terrific. As I said earlier, I've never worked with this kind of software before, and I was up and running in minutes. Not, say, 3 minutes, nor without looking at a few short videos by Saal, which were very helpful. But 15 minutes? Oh, yeah. The fact that I uttered not a single obscenity under my breath while working with it speaks volumes. The fact that you can load all of your photos at once into Saal Design software and then view all of them at one time within the application itself makes sequencing a snap. There are other tools, as I alluded to earlier, from Blur, Printique, and then there's Adobe InDesign, to name just a few, but Adobe InDesign is generally regarded as the benchmark in the industry. Of these, I've only subsequently worked with InDesign, and I cannot say that the first hour or 3 I worked with it were remotely as easy. Of course, it is a more powerful piece of software because it is also more of a general purpose piece of software, and some of you may find it preferable. I understand. But as far as Photobooks are concerned, for a total noob, I found that InDesign offers far more flexibility than I need with a concomitant increase in complexity. The implementation of that complexity is non-obvious to a first-timer, leading me to fight the muscle memory I developed over many years with many other software packages. And yet, in the end, I used InDesign as well. Hold that thought too, and let's move on. Because irrespective of the software tool you use, editing is where the magic happens. Maybe you sequence by theme. Maybe you sequence by shape, geometry, tonality, color, quirk. Any or all of these approaches and more can work, but the Saal software, as I just mentioned, lets you move images and sequences very quickly. It also allows resizing, centering, or framing instantly. No futzing with frames as distinct from images if you don't want to. It was a breeze to try on images and sequences just as they'd appear on the page. And this is a big deal. You want to be in the zone. You want to flow. You don't want to futz. Speaking of which, you'll want to set page size and a few other parameters when you first open the software as simply as possible, eschewing the many designs and layout formatting options available. I'd also suggest going square, unless virtually all of your images are either landscape or portrait orientation, at least the first time out. The one thing I did not take the time to understand at the outset, softproofing, the value of ICC profiles in particular, became much more important after I received the book and noticed a couple of images deviating significantly from what I saw on my calibrated screen, which is now a 32-inch 4K BenQ SW321C. Never mind the name, it's awesome. You owe it to yourself to take advantage of softproofing using those profiles and Saal's integration with Adobe Photoshop and Lightroom. This helps to ensure that what you see on screen really is what you'll see in print. Back to editing, where I've always found the images somehow let you know in what I can only describe as an organic, instinctive way which ones should survive, how they should be sequenced, what new themes or sub-themes should be recognized, respected, and informed, well, all of the above. Like I said, you'll find some images you were certain were good enough suddenly aren't, while others that you'd cut early in the process just as suddenly whisper to you demanding their inclusion. This, for me, is the joy and revelation of the process, and it might be for you too. Sitting together in front of the monitor, Claudia and I cut through the sequencing in about 90 minutes, which is, I think, stunningly quick. Remember what I said about someone helping you curate. It was only when we finished this phase that I stepped away from the Batcave, coming back later to write a preface and make a couple of other final tweaks. This is not something that you need to do. Heck, you don't even need captions or page numbers either. But as my ambition was to create a proof statement for an actual book to be published, it was important to me. Once finalized, I simply clicked a button or two and submitted it to Saal from within their software. No intermediary files, price already calculated, and billing complete. A week later, if that much, it arrived, and we were thrilled. But While this normally would have been it for most of us as a finished product, it was, as I said, I think for the third time now, a proof of concept. I would have loved to make a couple of further tweaks and then order a production run, but not so fast. We simply could not bring the book to market through Saal at a price point that would make sense for you, us, and Saal. They are not set up for high volume runs. While their prices begin at less than $40 for a basic 26 or 28 page, 7.5 square inch book, eminently reasonable given the quality as far as I'm concerned, that price can and does rise dramatically as one increases the page count, size, and options, which I do not begrudge them because that's just economics. I put it this way. Saal is a premium photo products company with premium prices focused on super high quality, small run albums for events like weddings. The IQ is beautiful. Their lay flat gutterless design really perfect for 2-page spreads, of which we eagerly took advantage. Their images color fast, they assert, for 75 years. It should definitely be at or near the top of your list to check out if you're a professional photographer looking to offer a compelling keepsake to your clients where a low 3-figure price tag is more than worth it. But if you're looking for a different balance between volume economics and ultimate image quality, there are players, as I mentioned earlier, Blurb, Printink, and Mixam to explore. Hold that thought for another video, though I'll tell you now, that's how I came to InDesign. Still, I think Saal is also a wonderful choice for photography enthusiasts keen on creating their own coffee table-worthy book of images. Not only is the final product and the software and process to get there excellent, our experience interacting with Saal via email was terrific. Which is why I then reached out to Saal and am delighted to tell you not only have they become a sponsor of our Streets of New York street photography workshops, but for those of you who can't attend one, they are offering a discount. Visit www.saal-digital.com/lp/hbrownstone/ but I'll put that link down into the show notes below as well. Let's wrap this up. If you've got the time, images, desire, and budget, Saal's got the tools and image quality. We loved the result. I was going to be clever and say something like, you'd better call Saal, but instead I think I'll just say we are super impressed and highly recommend them. A photo book, especially these days, is a fantastic way to be reminded how beautiful life can be. Do one. That's it.